So, good evening, folks. Welcome to Friday Night Tech Talk. I'm Mobile Geezer, and if you're on YouTube, you know you're on the Mobile Geezer channel. If you're on X or Facebook, you're either X is also Mobile Geezer, Facebook Mobile Geezer, or George Hayes. So we do all of them simulcast at the same time. If you're new here, welcome. And already have a couple of regulars here. Brian is here. He's been here 10 minutes ago, I guess. And then Annette showed up right after him. She says hello. And here's Eleanor. So we've got our three most faithful, I would say. Well, Ren's too. Ren's we know is at work in the Philippines. But I'm glad all of you are here. If you're new here, please type something in the comments and let us know where you're from. Oh, look, we've got Anthony, my Project 13 is here. He says that Bunny R1 looks like a child's toy that was purchased at Toys R Us. Yes, that's my second story for tonight. And nobody has anything good to say about this. I got to give MKBHD credit, though. I watched his review of it 2 days ago, so ahead of most of the other ones that I saw. And it seemed to me that he was bending over backwards trying to be nice to it. So anyway, we'll get to that in the second story. Yes, and if you're new here, I keep the show notes on my webpage. Let me share that with you, show you where that is. You can go to my webpage and follow along in the show notes, and you can click on each article with me. So if you go to mobilegeezer.wordpress.com, if you click on today's date, you're going to get just tonight's show notes. So I show articles that I think might be interesting. When there's something heavy duty that happened in a week or a big presentation, I usually go with that. And Anthony says hi and bless everybody, which is great. Today, I don't think there were any heavy duty stories this week. So I always try to come up with something that I think might be interesting to you. And yes, the Rabbit R1, that was the biggest story that I saw this week. But I'm starting with the United Health Group. They got hacked a couple of months ago, and they ended up paying $22 million ransom. So I've got that story on CNBC, so we'll go over that. Then we'll get to the Rabbit R1, and I haven't heard anybody say it's a piece of junk, but I think it's a piece of junk. So we'll get to that. Then iPhones, this year's iPhones, and lately I haven't been telling you what phones I've been bringing to work, but today was the iPhone and the Nothing Phone 2. But the latest iPhone, this is the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and they're not selling as well as the iPhone 14 series was. So I wanted to go over that. That's on Phone Arena. And then I gave you the story about 2 weeks ago that HMD is starting to make budget phone or mid-range phones on their own, not just Nokia. But I said HMD hasn't given up on Nokia. There's a Nokia 3210 Reboot coming soon. So I just thought that was an interesting follow-up to the story we did 2 weeks ago. And then, remember a couple of weeks ago, I showed you some videos that were made in AI. Well, Sora, with the help of a bunch of people, made one, and it's really, really interesting. I think it's a pretty terrific video, and it's more or less a music video. It's no lyrics, but and I'm not going to play you the music, but I'm going to show you a piece of that video, and it's pretty good. I would recommend going to see it. And lastly, also 2 weeks ago, I said the OneUI 6.1 was going to be passed on not just to the older phones like the S23 Ultra, like I have in the S23 series, but they told us it'd be going to the S22 phones, which is 2 years old. And yes, and they said in early May. Well, they started putting it out there yesterday. So we're going to show you that some of the S22s got that already. I think starting in Korea. So those are the 6 stories we're going to go over tonight. Brian, let's see. Brian says R1 is meh. Yeah, that's pretty much what everybody is saying about it. So that's all the comments. Now, of course, I haven't spoken to Ted. I haven't spoken to Ted in a couple of weeks. I hope everything's going well for him. But if he comes in to join the broadcast, I will certainly let you guys know. And if by some miracle Will comes in, that would be great. And I spoke to Mike the other day. He's just too happy making his money with DoorDash. So I don't think he'll be here. But of course, all 3 of them always have the link. So I'm going to start with today's stories. Let me share screen once again. Okay, so we're going to start with the United Health Group. And this was a heavy-duty number. 33% of Americans might be affected by a cyber attack, says United Health Group. And they're the ones who own United Healthcare. And I'm a member of United Healthcare, too. That's my secondary. This after paying $22 million ransom. So let's go over to CNBC and take a look at this story. United Health CEO, let's see, get rid of that. Okay, United Health CEO estimates 1/3 of Americans could be impacted by Change Healthcare cyber attack, and they own Change Healthcare. And this was published 2 days ago. So it was by Ashley Kaput. I guess that's how you pronounce her name. And I'm going to drop this into Reader View, get rid of some of these ads. Okay. United Health Group CEO Andrew Whitty on Wednesday told lawmakers that data from an estimated 1/3 of Americans could have been compromised in the cyber attack on its subsidiary, Change Healthcare, and that the company paid a $22 million ransom to hackers. Whitty testified in front of the subcommittee on Oversight and Investigations, which falls under the House of Representatives Committee on Energy and Commerce. He said the investigation into the breach is still ongoing. Now get this, so the exact number of people affected remains unknown, so they still don't know who's been affected. So they haven't contacted me, I know that. The 1/3 figure is a rough estimate, but that's a heck of a lot of people. So I guess United Health must cover a lot of people. United Health has previously said that the cyber attack likely impacts a substantial proportion of people in America, according to an April release. The company confirmed that files containing protected health information and personally identifiable information were compromised in the breach. It will likely be months before United Health is able to notify individuals, given the complexity of the data review, the release said. The company is offering free access to identity theft protection and credit monitoring for individuals concerned about their data. And I did do a one video about this, but that was before they had this him testifying in front of the Senate. So Whitty also, in front of Congress, I should say. Whitty also testified in front of the U.S. Senate Committee on Finance on Wednesday. So he did both sides of the House and the Senate on Wednesday when he confirmed for the first time that the company paid a $22 million ransom to the hackers that breached Change Healthcare. At the hearing before the House legislators later that afternoon, Whitty said the payment was made in Bitcoin. So I guess they must have demanded Bitcoin, I guess. United Health disclosed that a cyber threat actor breached part of Change Healthcare's information technology network late in February. Yes, it took a long time even to let people know it happened. The company disconnected the affected systems when the threat was detected, and the disruption has caused widespread fallout across the U.S. healthcare sector. Well, yeah, if 1/3 of people in the country were affected, sure. Woody told the subcommittee in his written testimony that the cyber attacks used compromised credentials to infiltrate Change Healthcare systems on February 12th and deployed a ransomware that encrypted the network 9 days later. The portal that the bad actors initially accessed was not protected by multi-factor authentication, or MFA, which requires users to verify their identities in at least 2 different ways. Woody told both committees Wednesday that United Health now has MFA in place across all external facing systems. I don't think that's going to protect you from these type of hacks. It's just my opinion, though. So that's kind of an update to the video I already did on this story. So let's get out of this one. And stop screen for a minute. And Brian, being his usual faithful self. Thank you, Brian. As always, sir. You're very, very faithful. Appreciate it very much. You know it's going to a good cause, that's for sure. So, nothing else in the comments. So let's go to the second story, which is kind of the big story of the week anyway. R1, bad or barely tolerant reviews, because that's all I've seen. Either bad or people just barely tolerating the thing, and you'll get what I mean when you see this one. I took this one from Tom's Guide, but a lot of people were reviewing this thing yesterday. And like I said, MKBHD was the first one I saw 2 days ago, and I had the feeling he was going out of his way trying to be nice, but it was very difficult, trust me. So, Rabbit R1 review, avoid this AI gadget. That's absolutely true. The AI future is still a ways away. And this is by Mark Spoonhour, who writes a lot of their articles. So let's drop it into reader view. The Rabbit R1 promises to make your life easier with its AI capabilities, but its unreliable performance, inaccurate answers, and short battery life make it impossible to recommend. I would wait to even consider buying this until the company works out the bugs. And as we go through, you'll see there are lots of bugs. So we got pros and cons, fun and light design. Voice search can be helpful, yes, sometimes. Can help you get stuff done without apps. Again, he said sometimes. Cons, poor innovation, sluggish scrollware. That was the first place I've seen that. Can be slow to respond, short battery life, vision feature unreliable, and I think MKBHD said that too. Uber and DoorDash integration don't work well or at all, and that's the big things they advertised when it first started coming out. So let's get to it. What if a gadget could order an Uber for you without having to go through your phone? You just use your voice, or if you could order your favorite burger from a local restaurant, or see what food you could make at home just by pointing its camera at some ingredients. That's fascinating to me. That's the promise of the Rabbit R1, a retro chic $199 AI device that looks way cooler than it performs. There's lots of other things that Rabbit R1 promises to do using its so-called large action model, from voice search and making AI-generated images to live translations, music playback, and voice recordings with summaries. I think MKBHC said the voice recordings with summaries was one of the best things about it. I've been testing the Rabbit R1 for a week to see if it can live up to the hype, but the execution often falls way short on a device whose very premise is questionable in an age of AI-powered phones. It couldn't even tell the correct time until an update. Now, that's sad. Update on May 1st, so 2 days ago. Rabbit has issued an update that addresses some of our complaints. There's now a time option in the menu, so they added that. And Rabbit says that the idle battery life improved. Other enhancement, he's going to talk more about the battery life. Other enhancement include better GPS integration so the R1 knows your location during queries, improved music playback, UI, and better Bluetooth connectivity. So what is it? A handheld gadget powered by AI. How much does it cost? $199. Who's it for? Early adopters, get this, who don't mind feeling like beta testers. And when we get through with this, you'll really see what he means. What does it do? Voice search, visual search via camera, generative AI images, book Uber rides, and DoorDash food orders in theory, he said. Yeah, he was very unhappy with that, I think. Voice recordings and summaries, language translations. What doesn't it do? Email or text. That's sad. Take pictures or video, set reminders or timers, support Spotify playlists. Should you buy it? No, at least not until the bugs are worked out and more features are added. And judging by what I've seen and read, I think it's a while before the bugs are worked out. Just my opinion. So there's your specs. All right, design. The Rabbit R1 definitely stands out in the crowd with a neon orange square design that's reminiscent of an iPod Tamagotchi hybrid. It's a cheap plastic, but that's what you get for $199. Very true. The right side houses a push-to-talk button, which I guess is here, for making your AI commands, and the front of the device has a 2.8-inch touch display, scroll wheel for navigating menus, and a rotating camera for visual searches. And I think he says later down here that the scroll wheel is much better than the touch display. No, you can't take pictures or make video calls. It's funny that you can't take pictures. I would have thought that would be simple. Unfortunately, the screen isn't super bright, and I had trouble making it out in direct sunlight. So there's a really good shot of it. The back of the Rabbit R1 has a speaker on the bottom left side, and the left edge features a USB-C port for charging in a 4 gig LTE SIM card slot. It's nice to know you can get connectivity without Wi-Fi, but you're likely just better off pairing this device with your phone in hotspot mode when you're on the go. Yeah, because the way this thing acts, you probably need your phone. Interface. The R1 technically has a touch screen, but the interface mostly relies on the scroll wheel in combination with the side button for navigating menus. I wish the scroll wheel was a bit more sensitive, as it takes too much effort to scroll through options. So he's saying this doesn't work so well on the screen, and the scroll wheel doesn't work great either. So that's great, isn't it? In addition, while it's not exactly hard to use the side button, there are plenty of times where I just reach out to touch the display only for nothing to happen, such as hitting the back option. The only time this touchscreen works, get this, is when you're using the on-screen keyboard, such as for entering a Wi-Fi password or entering terminal mode to ask questions. But the keyboard is tiny, and I had to press certain buttons multiple times to get for them to register, such as the enter key. That's very sad. Otherwise, most of the interactions you'll have with the R1 will be via voice, and that part works fairly well. There's an animated rabbit on screen, and its ears will perk up while you're talking, so you know the device is listening. I wanted to point out 2 fatal flaws before we move on. First, my device was 3 hours behind the correct time, and I couldn't fix it. That's really bad. Rabbit has since corrected it, and we saw that with the update. With an update, and there's a time zone option in the settings menu that also came through the update. Second, volume control is far more of a hassle than it needs to be. Get this, you have to go into the settings by shaking the device twice, which is ridiculous. I got the volume to go down by using push to talk, but not consistently. So that sounds like a real hassle. What did Brian say? Brian says, If you have a smartphone with AI, there's no need for this thing. I agree 100%, especially to me, it's wasting $200, but just my opinion. Okay, voice search. The Rabbit R1 is kind of like having Google in your pocket when it works. Keep that in mind. And I started with something easy. I asked, "What's the weather for today?" And the R1 knew my location of Freehold, New Jersey. I used to deliver in Freehold, New Jersey back when I used to drive a truck in the 70s and 80s. But proceeded to tell me it was 30 degrees when it was actually 83 degrees. I suspect it was initially giving temps in Celsius, but you think they'd let you know that. But when I asked again, the R1 used Fahrenheit. So 1 minute it seems one, and then the other, that's how it seems. So it's not consistent. So far, this thing is just bad all the way around, in my opinion. The R1 was kind enough to give me a weather graphic for each hour, but not with other searches. For example, when I asked who won the Yankees game last night, it spoke the answer 15-5 and gave me a text reply without the team logos. On the positive side, the R1 was smart enough to answer the follow-up question, how many home runs did they hit, by correctly answering 5. My iPhone wasn't as intelligent when I put the Rabbit R1 versus Siri head-to-head. And I thought to myself as soon as I read that last night, so you're comparing it to Siri, which is terrible in the first place. So, that's beating Siri is not that difficult. To test the R1 speed with voice search, I asked how the stock market was doing today. Get this, and it took 11 seconds to get a response over Wi-Fi. That's a long time for a simple question like that. That's super slow, but at least I got a quick glance at the Dow Jones status, and I can scroll through to see the daily, weekly, and monthly views. But I didn't get the other indices, NASDAQ, and S&P displayed. I used to work on NASDAQ at Payne Webber when I was programming. Okay, vision and camera. The rotating camera on the Rabbit R1 has plenty of tricks up its sleeve, but don't expect accurate answers, or any answer for that matter. You just double-click the button to activate the R1's eye, and then push and hold the side button to ask about what you see, which is kind of cool if it works. Pardon me. On the plus side, when I pointed the R1 at my home bar, which is what he's doing here, I guess, what kind of cocktails can I make with this? The device correctly identified some of the liquors and said I could make a gin and tonic using Gordon's gin and Irish coffee with the Jameson whiskey. But it also said I could make colorful cocktails with the peach schnapps, which I don't have. So I don't know where it's seeing peach schnapps. There's not in the picture. The R1 did a lackluster job identifying plants around my home. For example, it said a kalanchoe, I think, plant as primrose one time and an African violet another. Both answers are wrong. So I guess it doesn't matter if I can't pronounce it because it came up with the wrong answers anyway. Meanwhile, Google Lens on my iPhone identified this plant faster and accurately. The coolest trick is the R1's ability to transcribe spreadsheets or edit existing ones. I took a sample from the web where the total row was filled out for one column but not the others. I asked it to fill in the rest of the numbers, and I got an email attachment almost immediately. Get this, but all 3 grand total numbers were wrong. That's really sad. Simple math it can't do. I'd say vision on the Rabbit R1 is a mixed bag at best, at least for now. Also, keep in mind that the R1 can't take photos or videos either. Very weird. Music and voice recordings. The Rabbit R1 lets you play music through your Spotify account, but at least for now, it can't access your playlist, which is a big miss. That's pretty stupid. What's the point of integrating with your account if you can't play your favorite tracks? I agree 100%. I did successfully get the R1 to play Taylor Swift's latest album and fire up Green Day radio, but it went downhill from there. There's no way to change the volume unless you dig into devices settings. Yeah, it told us that. You need to shake the device to do this, and even then, you need to choose from voice, media, and so that's terrible. You would think that using the scroll wheel would raise or lower the volume. That's what I would have thought. But that actually skips to the next track. And if you ask R1 via voice to skip tracks, it will have no idea what you're talking about. Boy, that's bad. You can also use the R1 to record meetings, complete with a nifty tape recorder animation as the meeting progresses. Once the meeting is done, you'll see the recording in your so-called rabbit hole online inside a virtual journal that also stores other activities like your vision session. In this case, the R1 successfully summarized my meeting but didn't transcribe it, which is something Google Meet offers. What's Brian saying? Okay, yeah, I already showed that. Okay. All right. Uber and DoorDash integration. Now, this is two of the big things I remember the kid on stage the day this was announced. This was a big deal. When it works, right off the bat, when it works, the rideshare functionality on the Rabbit R1 is pretty impressive. The company has trained its AI bots on the Uber interface so that it's making a reservation on your behalf while using your credentials, which is good. But wait till you hear his experience. I first tried to book a ride from my home to the local Starbucks. Get this, but I got an error instead and was sent back to the home screen after confirming the pickup and drop off point. This is even worse. Another time I tried booking the same ride and I saw the prices were $200 for a ride that's just over a mile. That is pathetic. I did get it to work at one point, which makes you wonder how many times did he have to try? Getting as far as needing to enter a PIN for confirming my ride. After a software update, things improved somewhat, as I didn't need to speak my starting address, but I still encountered an error before I could check out. I would not rely on this method versus my phone. Now, keep in mind, this is supposed to be one of the headline things that worked right off the bat, but I gather not. Feeling a bit peckish, I tried to see if I could order one of my favorite meals from a nearby restaurant. The good news is that the R1 recognized Chapter House, but it displayed only 6 menu items among dozens. Maybe it's trying to keep you from overeating. I don't know. It gets worse. It's like you want to say, how could it get worse? When I tried to add mozzarella sticks to my cart, the Rabbit R1 said there was an issue and please try again in a few seconds. When I did, that didn't work either. When I tried a more specific query, can you order me a barbecue burger from Chapter House? It took nearly a minute before getting the wrong answer in the form of Five Guys burgers and fries. Unbelievable. I couldn't add anything to my cart from there either. Who would possibly want to go through this frustration? No one. You're much better off just using the DoorDash app. Yeah, just ask Mike. Hey, Don, glad you're here, brother. Okay, we're talking about the Rabbit R1 review, and it's really bad, really bad. Okay, AI-generated images. Feeling somewhat depressed with all the issues I was having with the R1. Yeah, really? I think I would have thrown it out by now. I decided to ask it to generate some AI images of golden retrievers playing frisbee on the beach. Presto, thanks to Midjourney, the Rabbit R1 took over 2 minutes to tell me there was an error. That seemed like an eternity. Undeterred, this guy doesn't quit easily. I asked the R1 to generate an image of a giant, cute bunny marching through a city landscape, but I got another error message saying that there may be maintenance or login issues. But I checked my connections on the Rabbit Hole site, and it said my Midjourney account was connected. I did successfully generate images earlier in my testing, and you can scroll through them, but not have them emailed to you, despite Rabbit having your email address on file. Instead, you need to log on to Midjourney and then share the images. Magic. You're better off just using one of the best AI image generators directly on your computer, really. Missing features. Not being able to text or email, you also don't get very basic things like volume control. Yeah, it sounds like it drive you crazy. Alarms, timers, reminders, or the ability to take pictures or record videos. I'd also like the ability to follow live sports scores and get turn-by-turn directions on the display via GPS, at least when connected to cellular. I don't expect the R1 to be a phone, but I feel like it should be able to do much more out of the box. Yeah, for $200, I'd say so. The R1's battery life simply isn't great. During testing, I found that I was under 50% by 2 p.m. most days and had to plug in at least once a day. Using the camera in particular drained the battery quickly. The good news, I guess, is that the R1 charged pretty fast once I plugged it in. Verdict. Part of me doesn't want to give this Rabbit R1 review a rating because it feels so unfinished and broken. I would say so. But since people can buy this device now, I have to award this thing 1.5 stars. I don't think I'd give it that high. There are some pretty cool ideas. Yeah, ideas are all it's got behind the R1, but most of them are not executed well at all. And I ran into way too many bugs, errors, and inaccurate answers to recommend this AI gadget to anyone. Will the Rabbit R1 get better over time? For sure, I wouldn't be so sure. And Rabbit promises all sorts of future upgrades like point of interest research, navigation in a teach mode so the R1 can learn more things. But I just don't see the R1 taking off because it's yet another device you need to carry around, as it's not designed to replace your phone. It's more of a companion device. Rabbit has teased a wearable it is working on, and that could have potential, but for now, the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses is a better option in that category. I don't think I'd be buying any wearable that they make for now. Is this thing better than, and I get this is really sad. Is this thing better than the Humane AI Pen? On paper, yes, and MKBHD said it was too. On paper, yes, because you actually get a screen, and the Humane costs an obscene $700 plus $24 a month for a subscription. That's ridiculous. Though I haven't tested that. But being better than the AI Pen is a very low bar. I'd say so. And based on my experience with the R1, I don't think it's worth buying. So I'd say just stay away from this thing completely. And like I said, nobody seems to have anything really good to say about it. I don't think there is anything good you can say about it. That's my guess. So let me drop on the screen for a minute. Okay, nothing new since Don came in. Okay, so that's the big story of the night, of the week to me, the R1. Everybody's reviewing it, and it's pretty consistent that everybody pretty much has the same opinion. Like I said, the best opinion I saw of it came from MKBHD. He wasn't recommending it either, but he did seem like he was working hard to try to be nice and not be too nasty about it. So that's that. Okay, nobody's come in. Ted has not come in, so I'm going to go on to the third story. That's one of the worst new product reviews I've seen in a long time. I mean, completely bad in my opinion. Okay. iPhone's latest flagship sales not quite up there with last year's. I found this on Phonery. I just thought it was interesting. And you can see why Samsung has taken the lead back worldwide, even though Apple had it for a quarter. So this is on Phonery. A new U.S. report reveals Apple's iPhone 15 family is far less successful than the iPhone 14 series, by Adrian Diakonescu, who does a lot of their articles also. And this was published yesterday. So let's Go into review. Drop some of these ads. Released in September 2023, the iPhone 15, 15 Plus, 15 Pro, and 15 Pro Max, which is what I'm carrying today, which I showed you guys, reportedly got off to a very strong start at the global box office, crucially contributing to Apple's first ever full year supremacy in the mobile industry. Yeah, because they actually took over number one worldwide for a short time. But after a few weeks of rampant demand around the world, yeah, and it did start off very strong, the iPhone 15 quartet quickly and unexpectedly began to lose steam, a situation that extended to the early stages of 2024 when Samsung regained the smartphone market crown. Of course, if there's one nation the Cupertino-based tech giant can always rely on to offset its sometimes mediocre sales results in countries like China or India, that's undoubtedly the US. But while Samsung cannot threaten Apple's domestic domination, the iPhone 15 lineup doesn't appear to rise to the success of its forerunners stateside either. The iPhone 14 is just as popular as the iPhone 15. With a 48 megapixel primary rear-facing camera, slightly bigger battery, brighter screen, faster processor, and especially a fancy notch replacing dynamic island, the base 6.1 iPhone 15 felt like a pretty radical upgrade over the non-Pro iPhone 14 to us. Evidently, that opinion was not shared by as many hardcore Apple fans in the US as expected, given that the iPhone 14 and iPhone 15 accounted for the exact same 14% slice of total regional iPhone sales between January and March 2024. So they were dead tied. The iPhone 14 stood at 19% in the first quarter of 2023, mind you, compared to just 11% for the iPhone 13. So you could see there was a big jump for the 14 over the 13, but not the 15 over the 14. The shift in demand towards older and often cheaper members of the iPhone family is obviously not good news for Apple's profit margins, although the 15 Pro is proving as successful as the 14 Pro, and the 15 Pro Max is not far behind the 14. The fact that it's behind is bad enough, though. The 14 Pro Max. Like the largest iPhone 14 variant at the beginning of last year, the 6.7-inch iPhone 15 Pro Max, which is what I carry, a super flagship leads the latest U.S. sales charts very closely, followed by its little Pro brother. And that's exactly what happened with the 14s last year. But due to the vanilla iPhone 15's poor performance, the entire family is doing significantly worse now than the iPhone 14 series this time last year. We're talking about a very large drop from the 75% share of sales accounted by the iPhone 14 family in Q1 2023 to only 68% for the iPhone 15 roster during Q1 2024. So that's a big drop from the 14 to the 15. What about the 15, 14 Plus, the iPhone 13 and SE? The 2021 released iPhone 13 further highlights Apple's profitability struggles, retaining a surprisingly large chunk of its U.S. appeal in 2024, so it's 3 years later. After scoring 11% of all regional iPhone sales during the first 3 months of last year, the archaic Apple A15 Bionic-powered model stood at 9% in the same time frame of 2024, which is naturally a very strong result. That's made even clearer by the massive decline of the iPhone 14 Plus from 10% in quarter 1 2023 to only 3%, huge drop. Now, meanwhile, the iPhone 15 Plus managed to become almost as popular as its direct predecessor, which is, however, still not enough to match the sales figures of all iPhone 15 family members. So there's your chart. If you take a look at this article, you can compare them here, and it gives you the color for each one they're talking about. So, last but not necessarily least, the iPhone SE 3 presumably is itself capable of a good result after 2 years on the market, merely dropping 1% from a 6% share of U.S. iPhone sales between January and March 2023. So it's still pretty strong. Will that make Apple rush the development and release an oft-rumored budget-friendly iPhone SE 4? That's hard to say, as such a device would undoubtedly become extremely successful extremely fast while causing its manufacturers even more profitability issues. But the affordable handset can't be delayed forever, now can it? So I think it surprised everybody that the 15 general series is not doing as well as the 14 because the sales started off so strong in that first quarter that it was released. So kind of surprising. So nothing new in the comments. So I'm going to continue on another story that I just thought was interesting. As I told you a couple of weeks ago, HMD is going to be making their own phones that are not Nokia, but they're still making Nokia. So I said, HMD hasn't given up on Nokia. Nokia 3210 Reboot coming soon. So let's go to Tech Radar and check this out. The retro Nokia phone everyone owned 25 years ago will get a reboot soon. And yes, it has Snake. Everybody played Snake in those days. Everybody raved about it. I remember that. HMD's Nokia 3210 comeback has now fully leaked. And this was by Mark Wilson from 2 days ago. So into reader view we go. The old Nokia 3210 above, right next to a teaser of HMD's remake, which will launch soon. HMD may have just launched its own mid-range smartphones. That's right, I told you about that. But that doesn't mean it's exiting Nokia nostalgia business. Quite the opposite, as a new leak has fully revealed its imminent reboot of one of Nokia's most loved phones. Yeah, everybody had that phone. The Nokia 3210 was first launched back in 1999 and became known as the mobile that virtually everyone seemed to own. HMD recently hinted on X that it'd be rebooting a Nokia classic soon, and thanks to the Finnish retailer Gianti, we now know that it'll be a remake of the 3210. Looking a little more colorful than the functional gray dumb phone we remember. That's right, they only came in gray in those days. The reborn Nokia 3210 will apparently be officially launched on May 8th, so less than 2 weeks, a week from next Wednesday, with an on-sale date of May 15th. So next Wednesday and then the 15th, the following Wednesday, that'll be the sale date. The design isn't exactly a faithful replica. There are similarities in the button layout, but it's otherwise arguably closer to your Nokia 3310 from the early 2000s. Still, we like the cyan and yellow color options of the new Nokia 3210. Is sprinkled with a few more modern features that makes it feel less like a relic from a bygone age. The leaked specs include a 2.4-inch QVGA color screen, a slight upgrade from the original's 1.5-inch monochrome display, and the addition of a 2-megapixel f2.8 camera on the back that can shoot 720p video. Those features, plus the addition of 4G connectivity, mean the 3210's battery life probably won't be as ridiculously long as the originals. But a 1450 milliamp battery should keep it going for days, and most importantly, a separate teaser from HMD has now confirmed that the phone will, of course, have Snake. I'm sure a lot of people are crazy are still crazy about that. According to the Gianti leak, the phone's price should also be refreshingly retro, with it expected to cost around $95 here. When it hits shelves from May 15th, though we may have to wait for the official launch to find out exactly where it's going on sale. Why was the 3210 so popular? Yeah, that's exactly what it was right there. This is far from the first time that HMD has remade a popular Nokia classic. That's right, they did one last year or the year before last. We recently saw it announced a trio of tribute to 2000s era's candy bar phones, but there is something particularly special about the Nokia 3210 for those who remember it. The seemingly indestructible classic celebrated its 25th birthday recently on March 18th, and it came from an era when Nokia utterly dominated mobile phones. Yeah, that's the truth, which made the 3210 the iPhone of its time. There were 160 million of them in the wild in 1999, according to Wikipedia. As I reminisce and Tech Radar's misty-eyed look back at the team's first phones, the 3210 didn't do a whole lot more than send text, let me play Snake, and last for weeks without charging. But it was also one of the first mainstream phones that didn't have an external antenna. That's right, you didn't have that big antenna like most of those phones did in those days. The design was apparently inspired by both Casio G-Shock watches and the Sony Walkman, which explains its utilitarian looks. Subsequent phones got a lot more colorful and feature-packed, but the 3210 was arguably peak dumb phone. And while HMD's remake isn't exactly a faithful tribute, I'm happy to see the phone return, in spirit at least, as a reminder of a time when endless doom scrolling wasn't such a dangerous wormhole. So I'm sure there are people who do remember it, and boy, was that phone popular. So I would think it might sell pretty well. So I guess we'll find out pretty soon, within 2 weeks, that's for sure. Nothing new in the comments. Okay, so now this one I just put in because it was interesting, like I did that other AI video one a few weeks ago. So I just said pretty creative, distinctive, almost psychedelic video, part human, part Sora AI. So humans did a lot to set this up, and then Sora took over. That's how I see it. But you'll see in the article. So on Tom's Guide, I can't believe OpenAI Sora helped make this trippy 4-minute music video. And that's why I'm not playing. It's 4 minutes long, but I'm going to let you see some of it. The music is pretty good. It's all instrumental. It says a new milestone for AI video. This is by Ryan Morrison. It was from yesterday. So let's go into review. And that is how it looks. And it's really, I think it's very well done. A new music video by the singer-songwriter Washed Out just dropped on YouTube. I didn't go look it up on YouTube to find out if I could just play it on YouTube. You probably can. This isn't any normal music video, though, as the entire 4-minute film was made using OpenAI's artificial intelligence video generator Sora. Generated from prompts by LA-based director Paul Trillo, it took more than 55 individual clips stitched together in Adobe Premiere to make the final production. So he put a lot of work into this going in, I would say. What stands out is how impressive the character consistency is throughout the video. It's very impressive. The video was commissioned by the indie singer Ernest Green, professionally known as Washed Out, for his track The Hardest Part. Trillo said on Next, "This was an idea I had almost 10 years ago and then abandoned. Finally was able to bring it to life." So you had to wait for the tech to catch up, obviously. This isn't the first Sora music video, but it is the first made from a commission. It also has genuine character consistently across the entire video. Absolutely. What you see in this video is this couple that it seems like they're starting in high school. You see them on bus, in cars, in a tunnel, uh, running through school, uh, all the way up to getting married, having a baby, and it's all this in 4 minutes, and it's fast. So I said, what is the video like? So I'm going to play you some seconds of it. You're not going to hear it, and the music is pretty good, but it's just fast. On the bus, I guess, for school. This was in school. I don't know if you guys will find this as fascinating as I did, but I think it's very cool. And the instrumental music is pretty good, I'd say. And I was wrong. It's not just instrumental. There's some singing too, which Sora provided that. Alright, so I'm gonna stop it there. So I just wanted to give you guys a taste of what it's like, and I would highly recommend going to find. Let's see if we go YouTube full screen. So it's okay. Yeah, I guess if you go on YouTube and look up the hardest part official video from Washed Out, you should be able to find it. So I just thought it was fascinating. It is a fly-through effect, yeah, that's for sure. Seen in other Sora videos by Trulio, following a couple with some trippy scenes that looks like we're emerging through multiple cars or flying into walls. There are obviously some AI moments, including one shot where it looks like the baby is floating, but they are few and far between in what is a brilliant example of using AI clips. I agree. Trulio said it took a total of 55 clips stitched together to make the video, and previous details on how Sora works revealed it can take about 10 minutes for each clip to generate. So this guy put a lot of work into this video, which is kind of like I used to do when I used to do a lot of my own recording and stuff. There was a small amount of touch-up work in After Effects, but he said there were no major changes. It more or less worked from the clips created by Sora. So he used Sora to create the clips, made 55 of those, and then Sora made the entire video. What isn't clear is how many clips he generated to find the 55 that made it to the final. Yeah, did he do hundreds of clips? Who knows? Why Sora? The video seems to tell a story of a couple through school years as they have a baby and then on as they get older. Yeah, they show them getting married. It includes scenes on school corridors, classrooms, and supermarkets. Some users on X, replying to Trulio, pointed out how much he would have saved compared to filming in a high school or even doing the VFX work for some of the more out there shot. He probably did save a lot of money doing it this way. While Sora might not replace traditional filmmaking in all areas yet, you can replace some for creating a music video to a song that might not otherwise get one due to cost. It's a game changer. I think it's extremely well done. I showed the video to my son, and his initial reaction was, "There's no way that is AI. Some moments are clearly AI, where some scenes don't match, cars are stretched, or views seem off. But because it moves so fast, it seems to flow very nicely. The consistency of characters is impressive but not perfect. However, it does show how much can be achieved when AI tools are placed in the hands of brilliant creatives. I agree. So I would highly recommend going to see it. So let's remind you once again, the name of the tune is The Hardest Part, and it's by Washed Out. So I guess you can go out on YouTube and check it out. I would recommend checking it out. It's very, very cool. So let's drop out of here. And okay, nothing new in the comments. I've got one more story left. And as I told you, I think 2 weeks ago, that the One UI 6.1 with the AI would be coming down, going back to 2 years ago, to the S22 series. Well, and they said in early May. Well, they already did it. As promised, One UI 6.1 is rolling out to our Galaxy S22 and more devices. So this was on phone arena. Samsung One UI 6.1 update has begun to roll out to Galaxy S22, S21, and older foldables. So pretty good. So I guess my S21 should have it too. I guess I'll need to turn that on and update it. And I still use my S21. I used it last week at work, but I haven't turned it on this week. So this was from yesterday, published by Joanna Romero. So let's drop it into review. Samsung's One UI 6.1, which debuted on the Galaxy S24, brought the fresh AI features that we know as Galaxy AI. Originally, this update was slated for the Galaxy S23, which I showed you. I had it on that last week. Z Fold 5, Z Flip 5 with the Galaxy S22 getting the update in May. Well, this is May. However, it looks like Samsung is following through early in the month, as some Galaxy S22 users can now download the One UI 6.1 update that includes the AI features. And that's right, I think it's in Korea at first. According to Android Police, multiple reports are surfacing on X and other social media sites confirming that the 2.8 gigabyte software update is now available in Korea. Yeah, so it's in Korea. So I don't even know if it's here yet, but we know it's coming. For the Galaxy S22, S21, Z Fold 4, Z Fold 3, Z Flip 4, and Z Flip 3. While not yet downloadable in Europe and in the US, these updates typically receive a fast worldwide release, so it's likely coming within days or weeks. So keep an eye out for it if you have any of these devices. The Galaxy Tab S8 series is also on the list for a May One UI update, though the software isn't live yet. Unfortunately, hardware limitations mean that these old devices will not be able to support the full range. Like my S23 pretty much supports everything the S24 does, except one thing, I think. The full range of Galaxy AI features, even the flagship ones. Samsung confirmed, pardon me, that devices like the S22 won't see impressive features like the generative edit or instant slow-mo. However, the updates will bring AI-powered features like Live Translate, Chat Assist, Circular Search, Browsing Assist, and Transcript Assist. It's important to keep in mind that many of these AI-powered features require an active internet connection. That's right, because some of the stuff is being done in the cloud. For you to be signed into your Samsung account for them to work. Also, some do require an additional download aside from the software update. For example, Live Translate. That's right, you have to download that. Language packs for the desired language will be needed. Yeah, I downloaded German and Spanish, I think. Will be needed, and those need to be downloaded from your phone settings, general management, language path section. Yeah, I did that for my S23. So just wanted to follow up and let you guys know when they said it was going to be available for the S22 and 2 years and older series. Well, it is, and I guess it'll be coming to the US and Europe and Great Britain soon. So just thought it was good that Samsung followed up so nicely. And that's all I have for tonight, folks. So I'm going to stop screen. And I don't know when we'll get Ted back. Hopefully that means he's busy with his photography business, because that's his side gig. And he does have 2 new cameras that he's bought in the last few months. So hopefully he's doing well there. So I hope everybody has a very blessed and wonderful weekend, and I will see you guys here next week. And let's always remember, we all do better when we love each other. See you next week.